For the first time ever on YouTube, I'm bringing you 10 tips to grow your woodworking business. All right, my first tip is going to be to pick a niche in your local area. So when I got started, I would build just about anything anyone would ask me to build. And I do believe this is how it is for most of us, but it's not the only way. You should have a vision of where you want your business to go. And with that vision, I always suggest building the projects that you want to build into the visions that your clients have for their projects. And for me, that was working with reclaimed wood and building industrial style furniture when I first got started. Now it's working with live edge slabs and epoxy and that industrial flair. When I got started, I would push my clients into the type of furniture I wanted to be building long term. And this allowed me to build some brand identity and also differentiate myself in the local marketplace. The competition for me around where I'm at was building very classic and contemporary style furniture, and I knew to stand out, I would have to do something different. So I picked a niche and I went local. So tip number 2 is to stop approaching your business as if it's a hobby and take it seriously. Approach it as if it's a real business. This is something I find way more common than not. And most people who own a woodworking business don't actually approach their business as a business. And this for me means putting the time and effort into working on the business and not in the business.
Do you have a minute?
No. What do you need?
What are you even doing here?
What do you want?
Now, if you were to sit down right now and map out the time that you spend working on the business versus working in the business, I bet you would be pleasantly surprised at how little your efforts go into building and growing your business. Now, I understand for most of us, it is a side hustle and it's something you're doing on the weekends and in your free time, but you should still be approaching it with the mindset that this should become its own self-sustaining, profitable entity. So tip number 2, approach your hobby as if it's a business. And tip number 3 is gonna be find a way to add more value to your customer experience.
Hello, Mr. Buttlicker. How may we help you?
I'm gonna buy $1 million worth of paper products.
So most of you are probably already working with customers, and in those situations, you're gonna have opportunities to add value to the relationship side of your customer experience. For me, this has always been something to where if I have a very high-end, large-scale project, I'll create a little piece using the same materials, like a cutting board or some coasters or something like that, and give them for free, just as a sign of thank you for doing the job. This could also be showing up to a delivery with maintenance materials for preparation in the future when their kids or their family destroyed this beautiful piece you brought in their house and they're looking for a repair without having to call you to pay for it. These little things create a much more favorable relationship with the individual buying your product, and in return, you'll get more referrals and you'll just set yourself up for better opportunities to upsell, resell, or sell down the line of their individual networks in the future. So tip number 3, add more value to your customer experience. Tip number 4 is going to be to invest in yourself. Now, this can go in a multitude of different directions, and for me, this is one of those things that I never saw coming, nor did I see how much value it would be adding to my life and my business. When I was early on in my business experience, and to this day, I started paying a coach. I come from sports, I love being coached.
I'll be running 3 days for the next month.
I love that feedback loop, and I really like to learn from the experience of others. So for me, hiring a coach was something that I was just drawn to. But at the time, it was a huge financial expense. Fortunately for me, I had a good coach who was able to not so much persuade, but show me the reason on why investing high dollar amount of money into his coaching program would pay off for me down the line, and it did tenfold. After about 6 months of working with this coach, I was able to literally double my business. In that time, I started seeing more and more value in taking online courses, in reading books, and in ingesting as much content as I could to work on the business, not as much the craft. And I've continued to do this for the past 9 years since I got started in business for myself. With that, I've also developed a course for yins. So if you're someone who's looking to dive into investing in yourself, I've taken all of my experience and I've put it into a course, and we're calling it Craft to Career. Right now, you can get into Craft to Career for 40% off, and I'm only running this deal until June 1st, 2022. If you're watching this after, I apologize, but we're gonna run a beta program here, and I want to get as much value and feedback from all of yins as I possibly can.
That is well done!
So there's a link down in the description where you can purchase the course, dive into it, and save yourself a significant amount of money. Like I said, I invested in myself early on in my career, and it's helped me get to where I am today. You should definitely check out Craft a Career. Tip number 5 is going to be get your butt on social.
Are you making content?
And I know this kind of goes without saying these days, where social media is a huge part and integrated to every single one of our lives in multiple ways, and probably more ways than we want, and it can seem annoying. But when you own a business, it is important to be in front of as many people as you possibly can, continually letting them know what you're up to, adding value to their lives, and trying to showcase your skill sets, whether you're in a production setting or you're in a service setting. So it doesn't really matter the type of business, but get on social. I was very hesitant to hop onto certain platforms when they first came out, and I regret it now. I wasn't focusing on Facebook, stupid. Wasn't focusing on TikTok, stupid. Both of those have become massive assets to my business with hundreds of thousands of followers across both of them, and that helps support the custom side of my business because it builds awareness to the fact that I even build and sell custom goods. Now, my strategy on social is much more for the influencer side of things, where I like to teach and inspire others, but make sure that when you do get onto social, you have a goal in mind with what you're doing. You're not just posting random content for the sake of being cool and being fun, but if your goal is to sell more products, you're showcasing your goods, your craftsmanship, you're showcasing whatever things you may think add value to a potential customer. You're also intending on growing an audience for customers, not an audience for people who just like and enjoy building. So tip number 5, get on social and create more content. Tip number 6 is learn to properly price your stuff. Now, I understand that there is 1,000 videos that are out there on the internet and people are telling you how to price. They're using random made up numbers and magical multipliers. They're using material and time type pricing models, and all of that's fine. Use whatever you want. You don't have to use my pricing model. You don't have to use the Craft a Career pricing model. But I will say, making money as a business is nice. See, what happens is a lot of woodworkers specifically think that they're making money because they're getting an hourly wage to build things. And that's more being an employee of your own business. If you are charging someone, say, $45 an hour, and then you're paying yourself that $45 an hour, your business isn't making any money. And that's probably why you're watching that profit that you think you're making get squeezed by all the overhead costs and all of the unforeseen things that your business has. So in Craft a Career, we have a pricing guide, and I have an entire pricing system that we go through that I've been using for years that has helped me grow not only as a builder, but as a business. And you can check that out if you're into it. We also have talked about this in multitude on Made for Profit. You can also go listen to those episodes. But I cannot stress enough the game-changing opportunity there is when you properly learn how to price your goods, and how much momentum you can gain from where you are to where you want to be by simply just learning the basics of pricing. So tip number 6, learn how to properly price your goods. Tip number 7, focus on quality, not quantity. Now, this is something I see a lot of content being posted about, and this segment more pertains to those individuals who are pushing you towards making what's called smalls. And there's nothing wrong with that. If you like to sell small goods and you want to make small things, you want to make small money, like, that's perfectly fine. If you know me and you've listened to my content and listened to me talk about business, you'll know that I am a fan of selling one thing for $10,000 instead of 10 things for $1,000. So if you want to go sell 10,000 units at $1 of something super small that takes you, minimal amount of time to make, and you make a small margin on it, go right ahead. But I don't advise it. I think when you do stuff like that, you burn yourself out, you lack creativity, and you lose basically the reason you got into this hobby, or the reason you got into woodworking. And you just, kind of become bored with those types of projects. There's a reason we don't sell cutting boards in volume, even though we can. They're redundant, they get boring, they're not as fun as building ridiculous off-the-wall crazy things that we build now. My philosophy on it is, as a business owner, you want to stay motivated and you want to stay inspired. So building small goods based on volume and based on price is just not something that I can advise. I advise thinking about what you're building and then taking it up a notch.
I'm gonna kick it up a little bit.
When I got started, I was building with a lot of Home Depot pine and stuff like that, and I wasn't able to price myself into a category that was high-end. Why? Well, I'm using the worst materials you can probably buy. You can't charge premium prices when you're using non-quality goods to build your products. That's just facts. If you came at me and tried to sell me something that was built with junk, but was properly built and made, to function as what it's supposed to be, but I knew that you were using the literally bottom of the barrel materials to get me there, I'm not gonna pay you a premium. So build with premium materials in order to make a premium product. Focus on getting the quality of what you're building up compared to the quantity of it. You would rather sell, like I said, one table for $10,000 that uses higher end materials and that is a much, much better piece than selling 10 tables for $1,000 with cheaper materials just to get volume going out the door. When you do that, you stay more inspired, you make more profit, and your perception of your business becomes seen as a higher end business. Therefore, the clientele that you draw to your business is looking for quality, not competition based on price. So, quality over quantity all day long. Tip number 8. Get involved in your local network. First is going to be networking with your local wood shops. This is going to create benefit on when certain projects come in and you can't facilitate all aspects of it. You can maybe shop it out, take a little commission, or you can share tools. Some shops might have bigger toolings that will help you do bigger projects that you would only need to use for maybe an hour or two that you could rent off of them. Or you could pick the other shop owner's brain on how they could potentially go through some headaches or issues you have with your projects. It's just good to be in your local network. Don't shy away from competition. All ships rise with the tide. Remember that. 2, local metal shops. There's other YouTubers out there that have mentioned this, and they're right. If you're networking with local metal shops, they're gonna be getting inquiries for the same types of stuff that you're getting inquiries for potentially. And if you don't do metal work and they're potentially looking for tabletops, you could be their guy. Also, you should learn how to work with metal if you're doing certain types of woodworking, at least in a basic form, because it will help you with jigs, fixtures, maintaining tools, machines, trailers, as well as something like inserting C-channel or building frames for outdoor signs, whatever it might be. Basic metal skills are good to have as a woodworker. Third place I recommend networking heavily is your local lumber yards. You might see that as competition for yourself, but most of the time, someone's gonna come in, they're gonna say, hey, I'm looking to build this. They're gonna be way in over their head talking to the lumber professional, maybe, who will then recommend your business if you have a good relationship with them. When the lumber yard close to us sells a slab and that individual is looking for a base or finishing, flattening, any of those services, they're gonna call us because we have a good rapport and we throw them business in the same way. And so networking with your local lumber yard can work to your benefit as far as growing your business. And the fourth type of individual I'm gonna recommend networking with is gonna be designers and home builders. Designers are a good way to build high-end custom projects for people. They not make as much money, but they're great portfolio builders. For us, we work with a couple local designers here in Pittsburgh that will reach out to me for the weirdest and wildest sized items that they can find. They're typically pulling inspiration from somewhere else and then they're looking to fit size specs. It's nice to be able to facilitate those without having to go through the full design proposal. So network with some local designers, and I go into it in the course on how I would suggest going about, facilitating those relationships if you're interested more on that. Local home builders work kind of the same way. For the most part, high-end custom home builders are gonna have clientele who are looking to furnish the home while they're building it out. So when they get to move in, those things are ready to rock and roll. Seeing if there's any way you can help facilitate their clientele by providing some of the custom or larger scale furniture inside of it is a great opportunity to get your name out there and also get working with higher end clientele. Bonus, if you can get in with architects who are working on commercial jobs, you can get a lot of work that will be in volume for higher end things. We've gotten some jobs in the past that were large volumes of tabletops that wouldn't typically come to the way I would procure normal business, and they came from the architect who has to put stamps on that before they can approve layouts and designs and all that kind of stuff that goes into building out commercial structures. So if you've got architects in your area that you can create a good relationship with, they'll also pay off. But get out there and network. Tip number 9 is going to be consider diversifying your income. So diversifying your income can become a topic that I could talk about for days. The simplest way to think about it is you want to be making more money for your business without essentially doing more work or more stuff. And this is going to include getting paid for your expertise, right? Are you a designer? Can you 3D model? Is it worth consulting with other individuals within the industry on things that you're an expert as? I don't know. I do a lot of those things, and they're great ways to diversify my income. Some other things to consider are, can your shop make money doing things that you're not doing? We have a large format CNC in our shop. When we're not working on our jobs, we are soliciting it to others. Whether that's for custom cutting or flattening service, whatever that might be, think about your tooling as another way to diversify people paying you for your services. Another great way to diversify your income is by teaching classes in person and online. I know a very high-end furniture builder, and I won't state his name here, but he does not need to be teaching classes. And I know at least 4 times a year, he packs his shop full of people and teaches them all of the ins and outs and secrets of his type of furniture building because he loves it. And for someone who doesn't necessarily need to do that type of work, it's a really cool, fun way to get re-inspired and reinvigorated and make a few bucks for your business. Lastly, think about your physical space potentially for more than what it is right now. Can you rent a corner for storage you're not using? Can you rent a corner to somebody who wants to come in and just set up a little turning station? I've done both of those things in the past, and they're a nice little chunk that just comes in every month for a little bit of money with a low effort from my end. And it's a good way to diversify your income there too. So think about it, think more, think even more than that, and find other ways to make money. And in conclusion, the final point here is going to be authentic to yourself. This is something that sounds a little bit cliche, and I know in my business, I've made a lot of turns and gone different directions over the course of almost a decade. All of these decisions have been made because I have a vision and a direction I want to take the business, and I found myself going places I didn't want to go. If I'm not happy, I'm not going to keep doing this. I know me personally, I lean into the mindset of that, like, hard things are hard, life is going to be hard. If you're suffering, it's not the end of the world, kind of push through it mindset. And this comes from sports and my upbringing and all kinds of other things. And I tend to just kind of work through the journey knowing that there's no end in sight, blindly sometimes, and that can take away from a lot of my own personal happiness. But if you're aware of that and you can go into approaching your business with a mindset that's like, hey, I want to be doing things I want to do, you can work towards those goals and not necessarily kill yourself just trying to make a business function. So when I say being authentic to yourself, figure out what those things are that make you happy or make you authentically you, and then build your business in order to fulfill those things. But having that understanding and know-how that you have a vision and somewhere you want to take your business will allow you to be authentic to who you are and not just morph your business to what the market's telling you. I think if you can add happiness and joy to the equation of your business and then consider, income and overhead and all the expense and all the back end aspects to it, and then add in your happiness as a variable in the things you do on a daily basis, you will find that you will be able to stay authentic to your dream and vision over time if you're constantly focusing on staying in a place where you want to stay. You can be authentic to yourself and still run a business. You don't have to completely dive into all of the other things and noise and whatever you're hearing out there into the world in order to be successful. So I hope these 10 tips have helped yins, and if you want to dive even deeper and learn even more, I've got a full course, like I said earlier. It's called Craft a Career. Right now we're running a 40% discount through June 1st, 2022, and I got a link down in the description if you'd like to sign up. Cannot wait to see yins in the course. Get out there and crush it, and if you have any questions or concerns, leave them down in the comments below, and I'll get back to you with my best advice possible.